Good morning, dear brothers and sisters in Christ. Welcome to this edition of CBN's My Journey series. Our speaker for today is Dr. James Lam, who's the CEO of Mount Alvernia Hospital. Dr. James brings a 20 plus years of experience in the healthcare industry, and he will introduce himself and talk to you about his life journey, faith at work journey, and his conversion story. And so now I hand over to Dr. James Lam. Welcome, Doctor.
Hi, Arun, and thanks for the nice introduction. So firstly, I'd like to thank CBN for inviting me to share my faith journey. And I would like to thank everybody for taking time in this beautiful Saturday morning to also be here and share time with my presentation. I will start off with a very short introduction about myself. So a little bit about myself. I do come from a humble family background. I was very fortunate to have attended some good schools, managed to get into Raffles Institution, followed by Raffles Junior College, and then I went to NUS. Not easy to get into medical school then. Studied hard, did well enough, managed to get in and graduated in 1994. So looking back, I think I'm very blessed to have gained a wide range of working experience. Right? I joined, I did the housemanship, MO, I did my time in national service as a medical officer as well. Did some GP work in my early days. And I went into the pharmaceutical industry, playing medical roles in both local and regional offices of a few MNCs. Spent about 5 over years in the industry, followed by 7 very meaningful years in the Health Sciences Authority, which is a statutory board under the Ministry of Health. It was between 37 and 43. That 7 years, I think I grew in maturity in terms of understanding organizational behavior, in the challenges and how to manage them in management. Slowly climb up the ladder in terms of responsibilities. But at 42, 43, I remember reflecting and said that I still haven't worked in the hospital setting in terms of managing the hospital, right? So I reached out to some friends and an opportunity came up. So I was very thankful to have joined the Thomson Medical Group back in 2014, right, as the CEO of the Singapore office. Had a good mentor there. He taught me a lot about the industry. But I must confess that from the point I've decided to go into hospital management, I've always quietly hoped that I will have a chance to serve at Mount Alvernia Hospital. Right? Primarily because it's a mission hospital. And to be honest, I didn't know a lot of the details of Mount Alvernia Hospital. I do know it's a mission Catholic hospital. And you understand why I would like to work in a Catholic hospital in a very short while. I was very fortunate that the opportunity came in 2017, quickly threw my name into the hat, and I was very happy that I got accepted. So 2017 is a very important year actually for me. I'll roll back a bit, right? I got married in 1997, right? 1997, and at the Blessed Sacrament Church. So my wife is a cradle Catholic. Eventually, my children attended a catechism class and they were baptized. So I've always been exposed and quite familiar with the Catholic culture, going to the church. Over the years, my interest level went up and down. There were periods where I didn't attend Sunday Mass, and then there were periods that I've attended more diligently. But of course, my wife being nice, gentle Catholics, like most Catholics are, she never pushed me to convert. In the few years before 2017, I started feeling the movement more when I was at church. Right? I attended Mass now more regularly. And at Mass, I felt that I was connecting more with the Bible readings and the homilies. I could connect more and relating that to my daily experience, right, at work or at home. So 2017 was a very busy year for me. I started a new job at Mount Alvernia Hospital. I've also finally decided to attend the RCIA, and I got baptized in 2018. So when Beng Seng asked me to do this sharing, I was very, very nervous. In fact, my first response and instinct was to decline, right? Because in terms of being a Catholic, I'm actually very, very young. I'm obviously not young by age, but I'm a very, very young Catholic. And I'm just at the start of my faith journey. But the way it has developed, right, in 2017, Mount Alvernia actually played a very important role in me deciding to go to RCI and convert. I landed the job, and I took it as a sign from God that this is my purpose and this is my role, and I'm here to serve, right? And I've already felt the movement in my heart for a few years before then, and I thought that yes, right, this is the time when I should inquire more, understand more about faith, right? And I was baptized in 2018. So Mount Alvernia Hospital has a very special place in two ways, right? It was that inspiration and motivation for me to convert. But more importantly, it is a platform for me, right? For as long as I can stay and serve at Mount Alvernia, to put my faith values in action, right? It is, when I share more, you will understand why it is such a wonderful platform, right, for me to discover my shortcomings and also put my faith values in action. I'm very huge about putting our beliefs in action, because if we are just talking about it and we don't practice it, it's not quite meaningful. I would like to share a reading from Peter 4, 10, 11, which at that point, at 2017, at some stage in the journey, early journey, I had a very strong reflection and realization. I'll first share the verse. Based on the gift each one has received, use it to serve others as good managers of the varied grace of God. If anyone speaks, it should be as one who speaks God's words. If anyone serves, it should be from the strength God provides, so that God may be glorified through Jesus Christ in everything. To him belong the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. I remember reflecting that, I've been so fortunate, right? From a very, actually I came from quite a poor family in a poor neighborhood, studying in a neighborhood school, school doesn't exist anymore. I managed to get into RI and then RJ, and it was so difficult to get into medical school, right? I managed to get in. I worked hard, but many people worked hard, right? And I wasn't one of those who had that ambition to do medicine because my parents were doctors or because I wanted to discover the cure for cancer. But I kind of did well with my grades, right? And I kept choosing the combinations that were supposed to be the best. And when it came to that point, at 18 years old, when you have to decide the career that you have to make, medicine naturally popped up. Having done triple science in JC, that's one of the potential choice. And I remember the final consideration before I take the box is because I told myself, if nothing else, right, if I don't get too distracted, right, by greed or whatever else, practicing medicine in itself is already doing good and is helping others, right? And that's why I chose medicine. And at that 2017 reflection, then I realized that all this good fortune and talents that I may have are actually blessings from God, right? And it is necessary, right, for me to give back, right, to help others, to strengthen my faith so I can serve more. Well, that remains as a very strong motivation and giving me a purpose, right, in doing what I do, right, and being who I am. So as things unfolded in my journey, right, you can tell by now, my very young faith journey is closely and strongly intertwined with Mount Alvernia Hospital. So I can't tell my journey without sharing a bit about Mount Alvernia Hospital. I'll broadly touch on two parts: the legacy of Mount Alvernia Hospital, right, and the special services and activities that we have in Mount Alvernia Hospital that allows me to express my faith values. Okay, so don't worry, I'm not gonna pitch about the hospital as a hospital, right? But I will focus on the special mission aspect of Mount Alvernia Hospital. I'd like to share a verse, firstly from Jeremiah 30:17. For I will restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, says the Lord. So I always tell my team, just doing what we do in a hospital setting, right, being in healthcare is already a great blessing. I know the doctors, the nurses, the physiotherapists, dietitians, and they have the most direct interaction with patients. Right? But I do share with my teammates, whether you are a porter, whether you work in the kitchen, whether you are in the financial business office, right? We all, whatever we do, the outcome of it will have an impact on the patient, right? And their relatives and loved ones. So we should recognize that just being here is already a blessing. Now, being in Mount Alvernia is even more special, right? So if you go back, our founding sisters were here in 1949. See, the photos are all black and white, right? And on the 4th of March, 1961, Mount Alvernia Hospital was officially opened with 60 beds. So the sisters came to help patients suffering from tuberculosis and leprosy. Right? After that, they never left. They raised funds and built a hospital. And in the early days, they were the nurses, the drivers, right? And you know, the porter, they did everything. Okay. The way we look at ourselves So we are part of the FMDM congregation, right? Franciscan Missionaries of the Divine Motherhood. We don't see ourselves a hospital with a mission, but a mission with a hospital. So in Singapore, actually anywhere in the world, if we were to set up, right, we will be serving all in the society, regardless of religion, race, or nationality. And therefore our tagline, to serve all with love. Back in 2015, way before I joined, this set of vision, mission, and values were created. It was a different set before then. And I think the leadership team, with the board, they did a lot of discussion and reflection before they landed on this vision and mission statement. And what is the most important to me are the core values of compassion, humility, integrity, respect, and peace. So this is the picture of the patron saint of Mount Alvernia Hospital, St. Francis of Assisi. Why is this so important to me? So when I first joined and I saw this vision, mission, and value statement, the core values really caught my eye. Compassion already, I think, is not so commonly used. So not forgetting, I've been in different organizations with different culture and purpose. But peace, right? Peace really had a strong connection with me, right? And in a way, when I feel lost, right, or when things get too complicated, I find it very helpful, easy, and comforting to go back to my core values. And looking at 1,000 over odd of us, right, the staff, all of us are staff, we all come from different background, different belief system, right? But this set of core values, which capture what our faith stands for, they are universal values. So it easily becomes a common language for me to communicate with my colleagues. And it's been very helpful for me. Okay, so that is the legacy that now we have received, and then we have to carry on and write more beautiful chapters for the hospital. Let's now look at some of the unique services and activities of Mount Alvernia Hospital. Because we are driven by our Catholic mission, guided by our Catholic values and social teachings, tagline of serving all with love. And we are very proud of some of our unique services. Of course, we have a beautiful chapel in the hospital on the lobby floor. So if you ever have a reason to come by, visit a friend, who's here, or relative, do make some time and visit our chapel. Before COVID, and hopefully soon after COVID, right, we will have daily mass at 7:45 a.m. except for Sundays. And this is also a place where many of us will go in and spend a bit of time, quiet time, do our prayers, right, or read the daily readings. Okay, we do this very special service called baby blessing. So if you do deliver in Mount Alvernia Hospital, you can ask for this blessing. So it's conducted by our sisters and some of the teammates in the clinical pastoral care team. Very, very popular, and it is very heartwarming to know that more than half of the parents requesting for this, they are actually not Christians, right? But they treasure the blessings that are given to their family and to the baby. This is Rose, right? Rose heads our clinical pastoral care team, a very, very special and important function of the hospital. So other than curing the medical symptoms, right, the clinical illness, the pastoral care team will see to the spiritual needs of the patient, right? So no matter what religious background you're from, they will be in touch to see if you do need some counseling, a listening ear, right, for comfort. And they are trained clinical pastoral carers. So even for our own staff, right? If myself, I feel down and I need to seek a little bit of listening ear and counseling, I can go to them as well, right? So this is not an easy function to run, but it's something we are very happy that we have. This is a St. Francis ward. It's a 6-bedded air-conditioned ward that we are very proud of, named after our patron saint, St. Francis of Assisi, right? And it allows, if you are not, if you can't afford very expensive private hospital treatment, right? This hopefully can help some of the patients to still experience the care of our hospital and our doctors. Okay, now for some of the fun activities, right? So we do have feast day celebrations, fellowship and fun together. Actually, this series of photos were taken in 2019 at the 50th celebration of our sister organization, this Assisi Hospice. So this was at their hospital, which is on the same campus. So if you see the photo on the left, my tummy gives it away, although you can't see my face. The one in blue shirt, that's me. And I show you. And this is actually Shuling. Right? So Shuling is the CEO of Assisi Hospice. Right? And here I am pretending that I know how to play the cajon. Our sister Linda sings. She has a beautiful voice. Right? And some of our celebrations, like our feast day and our nurses day, so the management team and some of the senior members will serve all the staff the food, the lunch for the day, which we always look forward to. Special prayers and blessings. We do invite our priests to come and bless our wards and our facilities from time to time. So for different purposes. So this was the new endoscopy center opening. This was after some OT renovation, right? And this series on the right, I think was the commissioning of our Health Angel office. Health Angel is the name we give to our electronic medical record system by the office. So it was a huge undertaking 2 to 3 years ago, rolling out the system. Right in the middle, this is the blessing of the ward. So sometimes our nursing or clinical team, right, may have gone through a challenging experience or a tough experience or a difficult case, right, where the patient might not have done well and they feel a bit down, right? So these prayers and blessings are very important to give them strength, right, and also lift the team spirit. For all these activities, I always try to be there, right? I think for a couple of purposes. One is to really show strong support for the teammates, right? Two, for my own personal growth and the growth of my faith, it is very, very important. Groundbreaking of the new building, which I will talk a little bit about later on, right? And I think this is Father Clement leading the prayers. VIP awards. So values in practice is something I really enjoy. Through the year, we will have, I think it's once in 2 months, right, to ask for nomination. So all the staff can write in, right? And you will write about a colleague that you have seen who have practiced and put in action our core values, right? And these are the winners. And it could be a housekeeper, you know, it could be one of our backroom colleagues, it could be a nurse. So I always tell the teammates that writing and recognizing colleagues who have done well on this front is as important as winning the award, right? Because it reflects that you recognize the effort of somebody else, right? And you're generous in writing and putting in an effort, right? Beautifully, actually, some of the colleagues who write it. Mission formation retreats. So other than the annual corporate retreat, I think more importantly, before COVID again, right, our three organizations, Assisi Hospice, Mount Miriam Cancer Center, and ourselves will come together, right, to have a mission formation retreat. This is very important so that we reinforce our purpose, we do not lose track of who we are and what we are supposed to do. Mission engagement, we have every month, we have 3 to 4 sessions just to catch colleagues from different shifts. We have a very innovative small mission team, right? This is under my mission director, Ms. Karen Poon. So I have Joyce and Elizabeth. They'll do their research, they'll find good videos, they'll think of fun games, always linking back to our faith and our core values, right? And again, who we are and what we should do. I will never miss such a session if I can help it, right? So if I'm in town, which I usually am, and I don't have any critical meeting, I will be there. And you can see in the middle, I'll usually do my sharing at the end of each session. Mostly unplanned, and it depends on how the session goes and what I feel in that session. Commissioning Mass for colleagues and volunteers partaking in liturgical rites and anointing for ministry, right? So I was very blessed, right? And it was very special for me that Father Jerome actually conducted that Mass, right? Because Father Jerome was the priest in charge of my RCIA program. All right. Changing gears. Now, this next series of slides are really my insight, my learning and my discovery that I would like to share with all of you, right? Strengthening faith through practice. Some observations and learnings, right? I think it is very important to communicate. So for me, on our heritage and responsibility, I will use the word over-communicate, but not to the point that it numbs and loses its effect, right? But ever so often, in the right moment, right, we should remind ourselves who we are and what we should do. Our core values, like I said, is my go-to in a corporate term, cheat sheet, you know, right? It's very quick. I go back there and ask myself, you know, have I been behaving correctly? Right? Have I been staying in touch and focused on practicing our faith values? Obviously, we need to walk the talk. If you just talk about it, and the next thing you turn around, you're scolding somebody and you're belittling a colleague, you're treating a vendor aggressively when it's unnecessary, unfairly, then how can your talk be worth anything? Right? So we need to walk the talk. And as I was preparing this set of slides, actually I realized that after that, it will be useful to talk that we have walked the talk. So it's important to communicate, right? So if somebody has done it well, right, then we can actually talk about it. And that will reinforce. Actually, the values in practice awards, in a way, is talking about people who have walked the talk. And I think that is useful. This journey, be it Mount Alvernia's continuous journey to grow our legacy, my personal journey to grow my faith journey, all takes time, right? And whatever we do, all of us are from different backgrounds with different reaction to experiences. We can't rush, right, such journey. So to me, I remind myself, don't be impatient. It's not something that I would like to see this I set a KPI for everyone, and at the end of the year, I can see that, yes, we have achieved, right? And now we are all very mission-based in the way we talk and the things that we do. It doesn't work this way, which is why that is a constant effort. And we use the word growth, which takes time. More importantly, I think for me, are we able to transcend, right, as an organization in healthcare, to look at things, not just the procedural tasks of healthcare, not just performing them, not just dressing a wound, right, fixing a fracture, but actually for all the colleagues to appreciate that we are in a unique position and we have a unique opportunity to heal and to touch lives. If we can feel that way, right, it makes our job so much more meaningful, right? And you don't feel like you're coming to work, you know. If you find a purpose in your work, it's not a job anymore, right? So it's a calling and a serving. Now, communication, of course, it's not my own hubris to put myself in the middle, but it's actually myself being guided by the faith, right? How do we communicate and influence one another to grow in our faith? And obviously it has to be guided by God, right? This influence, of course, is not sequential. It doesn't just go outwards. At various points, it can jump circles and can go in and out. More importantly, the arrows, right, I think represent my personal aspiration, continue to build more platforms, engage more people, right, so that we can discover more about ourselves, so that we can let the unique values and the legacy of Mount Alvernia to touch more lives. And of course, for myself to continue to help me grow in my faith. The next two slides have a similar look and feel, right? It's about prayer and reflections and how important they are. If you look at the emotions on the left, these are emotions that reflect really our human frailties. And we get troubled by this quite often, right? And often at times we act on them and it comes out, right? And it will be expressed on other people, bring hurt. How do we shift from left to right? Right? And again, I conveniently use the Mount Alvernia core values of compassion, humility, integrity, respect, and peace. We can only achieve this if we take time, right, to reflect our action, to pray, right, that we should go towards the right side. Of course, guided by the Bible's teaching, right, and what we learn from the Mass and other sessions that we can understand our faith more. And how do we move our thoughts, our words, and our actions towards strengthening our faith? Again, it is through prayer and reflections. Consistent, constant, and frequent prayer and reflections. I suppose this could be the most meaningful slide that I put together, is what I think has changed in me, right, in the short 4 years in Mount Alvernia Hospital. I think that with regular discernment and reflection, guided by God through prayers, my faith is strengthened, has strengthened, is continued to strengthen, right? Not only in heart and spirit, but also through putting my faith in practice. Not that I'm very hot-tempered, but I am a lot more calm and peaceful, especially when there are difficult situations that pop up. You can imagine, right? We run a very complex organization with many processes that deal with life and death. So it is not uncommon that a team will face difficult scenarios, complex scenarios, and how are we supposed to deal with them? We're supposed to deal with them calmly and peacefully, right? Expressing our core values. The next point, I do apologize if it doesn't make sense after I explain, but I came up with it myself. when we see a situation, right, when we come across a person, what is our first reaction? Right? For example, your friend tell you, you just got to hear of this person, let's say, Ken, huh? And or C, let's say, or someone tells you, oh, be careful of her, right? She likes to backstab people, you should watch out for her. What's our first reaction? Right? If you come into the room, right, you see two people quarreling, right? Two different kind of profile people, right? Maybe different ranks, different background, right? Shouting at each other. What is our first reaction? Right? And our first reaction, I think, is very influenced and very colored by our own personal experiences from the past, right? The baggage and scars that we may carry, right? And the first reaction could be a very quick one in our assessment, right? Actually, the way I see it is actually a judgment. You say that this guy is a bully, this guy is selfish. This guy is what or what? This situation, all this to me, when we use those words, to me is a judgment. Now I found that slowly over time, I'm taking longer and longer, right, to make a judgment, which I think is a good thing, right? So in all things, when we look at it, it's a whole range. It goes from 0 to 100. There's bad and there's good. There's black and there's white, right? So our calibration or assessment will be somewhere in between. And I'm finding that I've grown more curious to find out why, to ask a few more why questions, right, before I land on an assessment, right, aka the judgment. We will have to at some point. So don't get me wrong. This doesn't reflect slowness in running the organization by the folks, right? Of course, there will be urgent matters that we need to react very fast, that we need to make quick decisions. We will do that. But when it comes to what I've just shared, what is our first reaction? Right? So I find that I have changed. Last point, right? For many of you, you may know what AAR is, right? After action review. So if we roll out a big program, we undertake a big project. For example, we instructed by our parent ministry, Ministry of Health, say you need to set up triage stations at all entrances in your hospital within the next 5 days, right? To battle this pandemic. Oh no, where do we get the thermometers and that kind of stuff? After things settle down, we usually do an AAR, right? Where could we have done better, right? That is primarily the purpose, so that if we experience it again, we will do a lot better, right? I found that I am beginning to do AAR focusing on values and whether we are expressing them at the peak of the crisis, right? Or at the peak of difficulty of the project. So instead of just looking at processes, I also will reflect how did we treat each other? How did we communicate? Right? Did we lose track just because it is urgent? Right? We can be horrible, can be non-empathetic to one another. Did we do that? Right? If we did, or if we did well, we should share about it and reflect. But most recently, I think in the last few months, I'm beginning to take one step before AAR. So if I'm seeing a difficult situation now, it's difficult. A difficult conversation will come, right? That a crisis has happened. I'm actually proactively identifying that, wow, there will be a lot of discovery of my own weaknesses, right? Where I could do better. I will make mistakes, right? I'm human, so I'm weak, and I should now be alert. So it's no longer after action reflection. You can proactively look forward to it. If we do that well enough, I can actually do better because I'm aware. I'm aware this is happening. So this is my hope. This last point is a very, very recent reflection discovery of mine. My hope for Mount Alvernia Hospital, I hope that all the colleagues can appreciate our unique legacy and thus the responsibility to grow our legacy. Right? They do, but like I say, on such important matters, I do over-communicate to ensure that it remains strong. Regardless of our background, all colleagues, I hope, can be centered towards putting our core values of compassion, humility, integrity, respect, and peace into practice. Into practice, very important, right? And I hope that all of us can see beyond what we do as a healthcare job, but rather recognize it as a unique opportunity to continue the healing ministry of Jesus Christ to serve all with love. So if all this hope can continue to grow, it will help me with my faith journey as well. Just some practices, last slide, all right? Just some practices that I found have helped me along the way, right? I've shared how important it is to try to calm small. Again, we have different interests in comms. Some of us are more shy, right? Some of us may be a bit awkward, when we need to communicate. But I think it is important to try. In sharing stories and experiences, sometimes where we have failed, the bad stories and experiences, right, is even more helpful in terms of learning. I encourage that you could develop a sense of curiosity. Mine is growing, just to find out more why. Yeah, why is this situation like that? How did it end up like that? Why does this person behave this way? And expand that neutral zone, that I came up with. These efforts, when the intention comes from a good place, can easily translate to empathy. Just to find out more, right, can easily translate to empathy. And empathy, I observe, is a very difficult thing to achieve sometimes. Embrace change, because usually change represent very stressful situations. You have a few teammates who resign, that's a stressful situation. You have a change in your boss, that's a stressful situation. You're suddenly assigned to set up a service that you never needed to do. That's a very stressful situation. Now, like I shared earlier, proactively, if you know you're walking into a stressful situation, you will know that there will be a lot of opportunities to discover our weaknesses, right? To express our faith values, to help one another. And the last point, which is the most important, that we must remember to have regular discernment and reflections through prayers, right? Of course, guided by our Bible teaching. I'll finish off with a reading from Jeremiah 17:7-8. But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit. Right? In full trust we have in our Lord, and there's nothing to fear. Right? We should all go forth and grow our faith. So that's my little bit of sharing. I hope you found it enjoyable and meaningful. So Arrow, I'll hand over to you, please. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. James. That was very inspiring and motivating. Thank you for that wonderful sharing. We have a few questions from the audience. What advice would you give to someone who is contemplating a career switch to be an allied health professional or physiotherapist in the healthcare industry?
Oh, okay. I would I would strongly encourage that and support that, right? If you feel that there's a desire in the heart, there's definitely a need within the healthcare sector. We are all growing old. It's an aging society, and more and more, I think ministry is trying to build the step down care capabilities. So we do need more physiotherapists. I think I can speak for the system, and I think you should find out the options where you can pursue that. As you know, we are all brought up, at least the older ones, right? You receive training and education in a particular area, and you're stuck with that career for a long time. But now things with technology change and changes in the way society function. I will not be surprised if we go through, 3 to 5 different roles and careers in our life. Yeah. So I hope that is helpful. Yeah, I encourage you to find out more.
Thanks, James. The next question is, what advice would you give to doctors and healthcare personnel who don't work in Catholic or Christian environments to still be able to live out their faith in their workplaces?
Uh, this is where I find, of course, we come from different organizations, and I'm sure we all have our own set of core values, right? I go to my core values, right? And I will use that as the basis for engaging the doctors. Doctors and nurses, right, by nature of their training, um, already they are trying to help, right? Already they are trying to heal, they are trying to do good. So it is, I don't foresee that basis of their intention will be a difficult discussion, but probably how they are doing it, how they are expressing it. And so I would find opportunities to engage with them if I have the chance. And then internally, I'll reference my own set of core values, right, in highlighting without criticizing them, right, without letting them feel that I'm judging them, but perhaps use other stories that are relevant to the topic we are discussing or what we have observed that could have done better, right, to help that particular doctor understand. Because again, it depends on what belief system and what faith and that particular colleague, believes in.
Thank you, Dr. James. We have a question from Tricia Cat. Thanks for the inspiring sharing. Mission activities, what in the mission activities, what do you think attracts non-Catholics to join, since it may touch a bit on the Catholic mission?
So we are actually a very open-minded organization. It is not a requirement actually that I am a Catholic to be CEO of Mount Alvernia, right? So across the staff already, we have many colleagues who are non-Catholics, non-Christians, right? Different faith. It's partly also due to the nature of Singapore, being Singapore, right? So we have all types. They are already very inspired for those who are here. So it's not uncommon you come to Mount Alvernia, people who have served 15 years. We give long service award people up to 40 years, But again, I hope I don't sound like a broken record in my responses. How to convince somebody who is not a Catholic, right? How to inspire that person to serve in Mount Alvernia. I would come down to, again, this is a healing ministry, right? We are helping others who are in pain, right? Either in body or in emotions or in spirits. We'll inspire them with what we do with clinical pastoral care activities, right? Which is faith neutral, and again come back to my core values. I can discuss around our core values, which is a universal set of values, which is why I think it's so beautiful. I hope the answer is helpful.
Thank you. Very helpful slide on how to practice faith in the workplace. Love the point that you mentioned how adhering to values is reinforced and applauded. Are the KPIs for employees also based on the mission of MAH? It is refreshing and interesting to see Catholic values incorporated into KPIs and annual performance reviews.
Yes, yes, it is. It is part of our annual review system. So we do have a framework, and we do talk about it, right, between the supervisors and the staff. Yes, we do.
Let me ask you this, Dr. James. So, how much, I mean, in your performance review, how much of sort of a percentage do you allocate to these
Wow.
values as compared to the normal KPIs?
I think it is those hard KPIs have percentages, right? Yeah, but for those values KPI, it's actually to help all of us grow. So if we find that it is weak, right? If we will do the necessary counseling. And actually, if that particular supervisor is not very good at it, right? We can get our mission team involved, to help explain the situation, and it is taken into consideration, right? Because it is linked. How you perform that KPI and how we behave in acting out our core values, you can't delink it, right? So if we do behave in a non core value driven way, right, it is very likely that we will hit some walls in the hard KPIs as well. So this is how we do it.
Okay. Question from SJIOBA. How are you able to share the gospel and mission values with the private specialists who are not on your staff?
Oh, okay. So we do have a doctor, and so again, there are different ways, not very different from how we express to our own staff, to be honest. Different platforms, from corridor one-to-one, right, to small meetings, to town hall. So we do have, again, with COVID, we are slowed down a little bit. We do have town hall sessions with doctors who come to Mount Alvernia Hospital. So that's one setting. There could be opportunities, right? Or sometimes incidents where we might need to have a quiet discussion with a particular doctor, or that create to me an opportunity to share our who we are, and also the way our expectation, when we help a patient or heal a patient in Mount Alvernia Hospital, how we feel we should do it. And a lot of times, it is a very meaningful and successful engagement. So it could be a one-on-one, it could be a 2-3-on-1, right? So it depends on the situation. But the most important thing is we have to watch out for it, right? Watch out for the opportunities, right? And it could be a small one, just by the corridor, hey, Dr. Tan and Dr. Lim, right? I heard feedback you did this patient the other day, thank you so much. So this is a positive example, right? Thank you so much. We know you went out of the way, right? This is very aligned with who we are and what we stand for. Thank you very much. They will appreciate it, and you can imagine that will reinforce. They will want to do more. So and similarly, if it's a negative example, we think that something could have been done better, right? Then again, we will also not shy away, engage, and they are all our friends. We are part of the family, right? Whoever is providing care here, and then we can do a sharing. Say, could you have done it this way? Could we have discussed before? And usually the outcomes are very positive.
Thanks for the inspiring and insightful sharing. I was wondering if in the course of your work, there was a time when it was difficult to put in place the gentleness and patience associated with St. Francis of Assisi, or perhaps if there were situations where such gentleness or patience should not be put into practice as much.
Very good question. Thank you, Adrian. Um, very often, if you ask me. So if you recall the slide, very often the human weak emotions, if you recall that slide on the left, right, of anger and frustration, pride, they'll come forth. It's not uncommon, right? Um, then we really need to be strong, right? To identify them as weaknesses and actually bad emotions that we need to manage and overcome with our core values, right? Now, that is the first part of the question. So it's not uncommon, and it is part and parcel of our ongoing learning, discovery. And sometimes when I fall short of it, right, I do say sorry to the team, after that, and say that I reflected and I realized I've come up short and I would try to do better. And actually that is very helpful. And I always encourage all my teammates to do that when they have the opportunity. So you do actually learn more from sometimes from a bad expression, right, than a good one, because then you have to dig deeper to swallow your pride and have the courage to say sorry. But each time you do that, I guarantee you will feel better because you've gotten it out of the system, and you acknowledge openly that you could have done better. On the second part of the question, is there any scenario, right, that you feel that we should not exercise or express our core values in terms of the executing a certain task? I would like to say no. Or I would like to say there should be no circumstances, right, where there's a good reason, right, not to practice or not to practice, not to express, right, guided by your core values and the faith system, our faith values, right? So I would dare say no, because sometimes I joke, yeah. So at orientation, I always, that's another event. I always do an opening for the new joiners, right? And spend 10 minutes to 15 minutes telling them who we are, hopefully to inspire them, to say that for those who are new to healthcare, this is a very meaningful industry or area of work to be in. And to Mount Alvernia, I think there's additional meaning to it. Now, in that session, I always joke. There's a joke that I crack almost every time as I go through the core values. And I'll reach my favorite core value of peace. And I will say, in Mount Alvernia, even when we quarrel peacefully. So that usually bring out a laughter. And sometimes, I hope I don't ever do this. I've seen people, shout and abuse and use very hurtful words on others. And I don't think it is ever necessary. For example, right, I could end or terminate the relationship of a colleague in the organization, right? Despite having conversation or counseling or trying. And I mean, we still run the organization with expectation and KPI, and the focus on quality is a given. So it doesn't mean we are mission-based and all that. We are soft and we are easygoing. Not at all, right? When you're in healthcare, right, any wrong decision, wrong move could end up in a catastrophe. So our focus and emphasis on quality is stringent, right? But coming back to my example, if you terminate the employment of a staff, you can still do it very respectfully, right? You can do it actually compassion is, look, it's not working out. It could be a bad fit, right? Here are the areas that we feel you could improve upon. And I wish you all the best, right? Whether you stay in the industry or you switch industry. So I would daily say, no, I don't think there should be any situation that's an excuse not to express ourselves in the most Catholic way possible.
Thanks a lot, Dr. James. I think we've come to the end of our Q&A session. Once again, on behalf of CBN, I thank you very much for taking the time and effort to put this together. I'm sure the sharing would inspire many people beyond this event as well, especially when we publish the video later. So thank you and God bless you and bless Mount Alvernia in your future endeavors. So, as we are aware, we have a few announcements coming up, but we thought that we'll put this up so that you have some time to make a love offering if you wish to do so. We are not a funded organization. We need your help and love offerings to run these programs. So you could do that by bank transfers or checks, or you can open up your banking app and scan the QR code. So now I hand over to Dr. James to say the final prayer.
In the name of the Father and the Son, Holy Spirit. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's discord, unity. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's error, truth. Where there's despair, hope. Where there's darkness, light. And where there's sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. In the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
So I thank you, Dr. James, again for your wonderful sharing and the closing prayer. I wish every one of you a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday, and do join us for future My Journey programs. So God bless you all and have a great weekend ahead. Thank you.